It's time once again for another episode of Food and Beverage Radio. Broadcasting live from the Pro Business Channel studios in Atlanta. And now, here's your host, Rich Casanova.
All right, Rich Casanova here for another exciting episode of Food and Beverage Radio. And Kelly and I, she's running operations here behind the scenes for us here this morning. We were talking about we need to move Food and Beverage to an afternoon show so we get some food in here, right?
That's a good idea.
Because I'm a quarter Italian, so we're going to be talking to a chef that is all about the Italian cuisine and experience. And I just don't know if I could have Italian for breakfast or whatever, right?
Well, the Italians eat very simple breakfast, a cappuccino and some kind of little cookie broken up into it, and that's breakfast.
Yeah, see, I could do that, yeah. All right, you're hearing the voice of Chef Jamie Adams here on this episode of Food and Beverage Radio. Rich Casanova here, and we got a great guest here today. Talk about a resume. If we read the entire thing, we'd run out of time. I got Christmas plans going on, yeah. But I'll hit a couple of key points and have you fill in some blanks, and we'll jump into what you're currently doing. So you're the youngest of 5 children born here in Atlanta, and Jamie was introduced to every aspect of Italian culture, from its cars to his language, just really passionate about it. So, and we were talking before we went on the air about some of your fondest memories are cooking in the kitchen with your mom. And
That's right.
Yeah, and I was saying as a kid, I thought, hey, can I help out in the kitchen? She's like, Richie, she used to call me Richie as a kid. Go out and play or whatever. I got this, right? I could have been a chef, right?
That's right. Being the youngest of 5, there was a lot of food to get cooked in the house.
Yeah.
And my mother from New Orleans was a great cook, and one of my father's favorite things to do was to eat what Mom cooked or go out somewhere.
Yeah. Youngest of 5. I'm youngest of 4, yeah. So, all right, so that began early on, and then, but in addition to that, so moving forward, you studied music, and it says biology, not music biology. There was the 2 different subjects, right?
Well, I was
combination.
I was a little ambivalent during my college years. I went from trying to major in music to trying to major in biology, and ended up doing neither.
Exactly, yeah. And that all happened. That went down at Georgia State University here in Atlanta, and then at the same time, you were also working for a famous Italian restaurant, the Mad Italian, in Atlanta.
That's correct.
What was their claim to fame?
Well, they 2 guys that I'm still really close friends with. One guy's from Philadelphia. They did great Philadelphia cheesesteaks. It was a simple place.
Yeah.
But, they did everything from scratch. They made meatballs. They sliced their steak. They made their sausage, everything from scratch. They bought the best bread from New York and made great Philly cheesesteaks, and they were really, really into hospitality.
Yeah.
Even though it was a simple, casual place, hospitality was their thing, and they taught me a ton.
Did they expand into a franchise or multiple locations? Or
They had multiple locations,
yeah.
and then as years went by, they sold the store to their 2 managers who were brothers.
Yeah, okay.
And only one of them is left right now. It's
Right,
over
yeah.
on Savoy Drive in Chamblee.
So it's
and
not
it's still going strong.
2 guys and a pizza?
Not anymore. It's,
all right, so now, and in addition to that, so a little bit later, you ended up with a gig at Buckhead Life, a restaurant which is iconic here in not just Buckhead, but Atlanta and through the region here, right?
That's correct. But after my time with the Mad Italian is when I decided to hop over to Italy.
Okay, yeah.
And
so
then,
take us across the ocean there. What was that about?
Well, it was, I was working for these guys at the Mad Italian, and I was kind of a big fish in a little pond, and all this stuff that was going on with my family where they were traveling to Italy all the time and telling me all these stories, and I was thinking, I got to get over there. And so I just kind of sold everything, and with a couple of connections, got some places to live and work. And I told my dad I'd be there for a year and learn everything about Italian food.
Right.
And then close to 5 years later, I got back realizing I know a fraction of it,
Right.
but the fraction I knew pretty well.
So I'm a quarter Italian, quarter Spanish, quarter French, and quarter Irish. What about your heritage?
I'm French, German, and
Okay.
Irish. My mother,
Oh, wow.
My mother's father was born in Ireland, and she was almost born in Ireland.
Oh, wow. All right. So then we're now at Buckhead Life Restaurant Group, and you were there 20-year relationship with Pano.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
So when I first,
You could write a book about that, right? If you haven't already.
I've been thinking about
Yeah.
it. So when I got back from Italy, I interviewed with this guy named Dino La Rosa, who was Pano's partner at what was then Capriccio.
Okay.
And Dino said to me, "I want you to make pasta for Pano." And so, okay, that came by the next day, and I've got the eggs and the flour on the table, and I'm making the dough, and Dino walks around the corner and says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm making pasta." And he starts laughing, so I make a couple of dishes. I got hired, and 21 years later, I finally left the company, and Pano's has been awesome to us over the years, and it's almost like another father.
No doubt. My version of making pasta is out of the box, whatever. Pour it in the boiling water. Yeah. But now, what restaurant? So you worked. What restaurants did you work at within the Buckhead Life group?
So I started off at when Pano redid the old Capriccio into what it's now known as Pricci.
Right.
I started at the old fish market in Lenox Square.
Oh yeah.
And that's where we sort of put the whole menu together for the the reopening of Pricci. And then I went to Pricci in August of '91. And then when Vinny Vitivici came on the block in '93, I went over there as chef and spent a lot of time there.
I mean, that's just a fun name for a restaurant, right? Who came up with that?
Caesar.
Okay.
It means I came, I saw, I conquered.
Right.
Supposedly he said that to the
So you work with
French,
Caesar too? Whatever. Wow.
It goes way back.
You look great for your age, man. Yeah. We could spend probably a whole show just on that experience at Buckhead Life, right?
Yeah, it was great. And Vinny Vitivici was a really cool place. It had this big wood-burning rotisserie.
Oh, yeah?
And we would cook chickens and ducks and pig and lamb and just
whatever walked in the door.
Stuff.
Whatever walked by,
Yeah, beware.
Exactly, yeah.
The rotisserie's on.
I know I first moved to Atlanta. I was up in North Cobb and at this big bay window, and within a few weeks, I'm looking out the window. There's this deer like walking right in front of my window, and I'm like, where did I move? Whatever. I need to get closer to the city. Yeah. All right. So, and then next, we kind of talked about most of that now. So talk to us about this coastal Italian restaurant that is this the current one that you're running now?
That's correct.
Okay.
Il Giallo.
Giallo, and it's a osteria and bar, right?
Right. Osteria means hostelry. A lot of people think it has something to do with oysters, but it's the Italian word for hostelry, which is kind of a convivial place where people can gather and eat. And, in the olden days, there would be rooms to stay. Right. We obviously don't have rooms. But yet. We have private dining rooms, but it's a little different.
Right.
And so, at Giallo, I've tried to recreate, a lot of my experiences when I was living over there. I lived on the seacoast for a while, and I lived inland. So we make pasta out in front of everybody on a big 16-foot table during service.
Wow.
And we feature, great fish dishes all the time, and it's just a fun, convivial place.
And tell us the backstory of that, how that kind of came about, how long you've been operating that kind of thing.
Well, it's a long story, but, and Pano was in on the whole thing. Okay. We came to very amicable closing of our relationship. And, he knew all about our plans, but he kept telling us, you don't have a concept. And we're like, Pano, it's Italian. That's a concept. Right. He goes, you don't have a concept. I said, well, okay, the guy's pretty smart, and I've worked for him for 21 years. I better start paying attention. So one night in the restaurant, a lady was, this is at Vinny Vitivici's, wanted the special from a couple of nights ago. And I didn't have it, but she was a butternut squash tortelli. So what I had is a raw butternut squash, and I had some pasta sheets. So I said, okay, well, by golly, I'm going to do this. Yeah. And I peeled it, cut it up into small pieces, put it in the fryer, patted it dry, mixed some cheese, and next 20 minutes later, she had the tortelli.
Wow!
So that's when I figured out what the concept for Giallo was going to be, and that's have that big pasta table out in front of everybody. And I told Pano, he goes, "Now you got a concept." So,
right, exactly. Finally, it took you a minute.
Yeah, and we've been open for 3 years now. We just celebrated our 3rd year anniversary on. That holiday that will now be known as Jalloween.
Jalloween, that's pretty good.
We opened on October 31st, 2015.
Wow, that's a great story. So before we talk about, let's rewind for a second. So in addition to your impressive resume you already mentioned, what I was also intrigued that jumped off the page here is that you also competed in the Food Network's Chopped.
That's correct.
So we were talking before we went on the air. I'm obsessed a bit with Shark Tank. Actually, just an interview with Barbara Corcoran from the Shark Tank just last week. So this experience. So how did you become a candidate for that? I mean, how did you get on the show?
Well, they email people out. You know, they target companies and restaurants, and I got an email, and I initiated the whole. It was like an online interview, where you fill out a questionnaire, and then, they fill out another questionnaire. Then they asked me to do a little video of the questionnaire, and then, time passed, and I went and interviewed. They came to Atlanta and held some interviews for some of the finalists that they had, and they said, "Okay, you've been picked."
Wow! And did they tell you why they chose you, or do you have a?
They were targeting Atlanta, and so they're good at gathering intel about the good restaurants around town and who to target.
Yeah, but there's a lot of restaurateurs in Atlanta to be chosen. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and it's a pretty rigorous interview process.
Right.
It took a long time.
Wow.
It almost took a year from the time that I did the first interview till I did the show.
That's crazy. Most people don't understand that, right?
Yeah, and it's. And then when it came time for the show, it was it's exactly what you see.
Really?
There a lot of the stuff is condensed down that you don't see. But you have 20 minutes for the first course, 30 minutes for the second and third, and that time goes by like that. And that's all real. You open the box and you start and you go, and you have no idea what's going to be in it.
This is all up in New York, or
this is in New York, and they have studios in the Chelsea market. And, it was very, very unglamorous. When you're on the set, it's really cool, but you got all these nooks and crannies, because they're all temporary sets. They film the season, in about 3 months, and then
knock them all out.
They knock it down and do something else there, and then rebuild for the next season.
Dang. So how did you compete? How did it kind of come out? What were some of the challenges with it, or things you didn't expect? I mean, was it like a pressure cooker, as you can imagine, or was it a lot of fun? Or
serious pressure cooker. They bring you into the show, and they be sure that you have nothing on you. You put one of their chef's jackets on. Right. You can't have anything in your pockets. You can't have. They don't want notes or anything like that.
Wow, okay, yeah.
And you get a quick tour of the facility, so you can see the refrigerators and the storage where they have stuff that you're going to go grab.
Right.
And then next, lining up, and all of a sudden there's like 15 cameras.
Jeez,
and there's spotlights. And,
and
at first I realized my hands started shaking. I said, "Holy crap!" I just I sharpened all of my knives, and I'm shaking like crazy.
Not
I
a
know
good
I'm going to cut
combination,
myself.
You need a drink at that point. Right. It sounds like,
But then once it got going, the cooking part was the easiest because I know that part.
You do that in your sleep,
And,
but it had to be different because you're not using your own ingredients or your recipe, right?
Well, that's true, but what you got to do is you take these ingredients, you got to figure out real fast what you're going to do, and you don't have time to change your mind. So once you decide, you just go for it and do what you know how to do.
You're all in, sink or swim,
right? And for better or worse, and you just you have to transform the ingredients. You can't just like open a can and put it on there, or something. You have to transform them all and turn it into something,
right? To impress them. And was it tough with the judges, or what? How did you end up faring?
Well, I thought for certain that I had won.
Right, exactly,
they loved everything I did, and when they're in that whole judging process, when you're standing in front of the judge, that was very tedious because that was actually about 20-30 minutes of you talking to the judges.
But on the final product, it's only a few minutes, right?
Right. You only see a few minutes, but and when it came to my fish dish, which was the second course, they just loved it. They said it's the best halibut I've ever eaten.
Wow.
And so and then my dessert they loved, and the other guy was really good too. He was a French guy, and he was very sharp. And I think they just tossed a coin because both both of our food was good.
Yeah.
But, both of our dishes were really, really good. And it was a coin toss, but I thought I'd won, and he thought I'd won too.
Right, yeah. Well, maybe we'll do a recount or whatever. I don't know if it's too late for that or not. Yeah. So now, did you add that to the menu at any point or thought about adding that to like a signature dish? That'd be kind of cool, like the claim to fame or whatever.
Well,
right?
We do have a dish on our menu, bomboloni, which is a dessert, which is the one recipe that I memorized because I'm not a pastry chef, but
Okay.
I did memorize the bomboloni dough recipe,
All right.
which is a fried donut.
Right.
And I somehow managed the stuff that they gave me in the box, I said, I can turn that into a bomboloni. And that's on our menu.
Oh, it is?
To this day, yeah.
Because that'd be kind of cool. It's just like makes that kind of signature item, or it has a backstory and history to it, especially
Right.
if people watch the episode or watch the show. That'd be kind of cool.
And we also, when we do halibut, because it was a halibut dish, we always kind of mention that I got pretty well known for my ability to cook halibut.
Exactly. On the fly.
Right.
Yeah. So talk to us about the Super Chef Cook-Off.
Now, that was years and years and years ago, in the early days of Veni Vidi Vici, and it was kind of the beginning of the whole food TV explosion, because
Yeah.
they did this dinner and a movie thing,
Right.
and the studios were right across the street from Veni Vidi Vici,
Oh, wow.
so all the TBS people were in all the time, and there was this one lady that was I'm still very good friends with to this day, who worked for Turner, and she and a couple of other people in the company hatched this idea to do this Super Chef Cook-Off thing,
Right.
and it was there were 5 chefs from across the country. We all gathered in New York, and we did a dish on the theme of a movie, and so it was a big contest.
Oh, wow.
And it was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt.
And there was a big crowd up in Manhattan, and I didn't win, but it was a really, really great experience.
Yeah. Just hearing that description, what you described, I thought about it would be kind of cool to do a cooking podcast, but I don't know if it would really resonate if you're just listening to someone cook or talk about recipes. But I'm sure there's a podcast.
There's probably
tons
somewhere
of
out there.
podcasts
Maybe
out
a video podcast.
Yeah,
would
exactly.
be a
Yeah,
good
that would make more sense. All right, so now let's talk about what's on the menu over there that you may not have hit on, or what's some of your signature items, or the most popular, or what's your claim to fame at the restaurant?
Well, there's a couple of things that are signature trademark kind of things. They're
Okay.
not trademark, but I like to think so.
We'll call an attorney, make that happen. Yeah, for an extra $1.50. Yeah.
We have a veal parmigiana that is very popular. We like to call it a meat pizza because it's a big old pounded veal chop.
Dang.
It's breaded and pan fried with mozzarella and tomatoes. It's delicious.
Yeah.
And
Says the chef. Yeah.
And our other thing that we're pretty well known for is these ravioli that we make out of big green egg roasted duck. And
Say that again.
it's a ravioli
Right.
that's filled with duck
Right.
that's been roasted on the big green egg.
I
so
thought
it's
you
all
said the big
smoked.
green egg. Yeah.
And so it's about to make its comeback. We replaced it for a little while, and in the next week or so, it's going to make a comeback.
Resurgence, as a lot of these shows are doing that, right?
Right.
It's a reboot.
That's
it's getting
right.
a reboot.
People have been asking for it for the last 3 months, so it's time to bring it back. And that's a dish that I've been doing for years and years and years.
Yeah.
From Veni Vidi Vici, and I learned the pasta style from one of the places that I worked in Italy.
Yeah, you talked a lot about pasta, and I was joking mine comes out of a box. So what's the what do people do right or wrong? I mean, what's the science behind making a good pasta?
Pasta is all about feel. There are
Really?
there are recipes to make the dough, but you gotta learn how to make it feel right.
Okay.
And it's got to be neither too soft or too firm.
Right.
We do pasta classes throughout
Really?
the year. Pasta making classes that you'll have to check our website, ilgialloatl.com, get on our mailing list, and you will get notifications of when we do pasta classes. We're shooting for the first Saturday of the month, and we're about to start put our calendar out for January and the next 3 months after.
And that's at ilgialloatlanta.com.
ATL.com,
yeah. It's interesting because I had made in my notes, we didn't talk about this, but like experiences in the restaurant is so that would be really cool. Have you done stuff like that in the past where it's either cooking class or experiential type of an event?
Absolutely. That's what our pasta classes have been all about. So we get up to 14 people, and we're in there. I'm showing them how to make the dough from the flour on the table with the eggs and the fork, and
Dang.
they're able to play with it and roll it through the machine and cut it and make ravioli. It's a lot of fun. And then around noon, Prosecco bottles open.
Exactly. And then the real fun kicks in, right, or whatever. Yeah.
And then we teach them how. I teach them how to make several different kinds of pasta, and then once we've gotten through most of the instruction stuff, they sit down and give them a salad, and then we cook the pasta that they made.
Wow.
And it's a blast.
Well, we have a noontime opening over here. Whatever we can do it here in the studio. I'm getting hungry now. Okay, so that's an experience pasta class at the restaurant. Before we went on the air, you were talking about you do some demos. You've done a number of demos or events. Talk to us about some of the off-site events that you've done.
I do so many, mostly charity-related stuff. We're cooking in people's homes. Most recently, I did a dinner in Tom Glavin's house.
Wow.
For 12 people. Dang. And it was for cure childhood cancer.
Oh, yeah, right.
A lot of the stuff that we do has been, like I say, charity related. I've done lots and lots of stuff for No Kid Hungry, Share Our Strength. It seems to go on and on and on.
Yeah.
I do probably a dinner a month in somebody's home. They've donated a whole bunch of money, and I gather some friends and colleagues together to do multiple chefs dinners in people's home for 12 people, and
you probably offer that sometimes at like a silent auction event or whatever.
It's that's a live auction item that at a lot of the big events like Taste of the Nation, and then the Cure Ball, and there's so many I can't even name.
I've heard of because we've done on-site broadcasts, and we may want to talk off the air about partnering up on some of those events. We've done a lot of off-site broadcasts, and we did Taste of Buckhead, Taste of Atlanta. I didn't know there was a Taste of the Nation. Man, you just ramped it up there. Yeah,
Taste of the Nation is Share Our Strengths yearly, sort of end of the year, or it's actually they do it at the beginning of the year, but it's their big fundraiser for. It's a big event, and for many years is with the aquarium. It's changed venues a few times throughout the years, but it's about 35 restaurants.
Wow,
close to 2,000 people.
Jeez,
and they raise close to $1 million every year.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm seeing some possibilities here because we actually just announced we're launching as our way to give back here at the Pro Business Channel a platform for nonprofits, because initially we thought, well, we'll donate to a singular nonprofit or maybe put some of our money aside, but we had what's called a BFO. And if you know what a BFO is, it's called a blinding flash of the obvious. Right?
I can translate BFO into a couple of other.
I know, exactly. That's why I always clarify it. Blinding flash of the obvious. So here, but what's crazy is that we have almost 500,000 downloads. We're in the top 5% globally in website traffic, yada, yada, yada. So we thought, rather than just maybe putting some money aside as an emerging brand, why not, out of our pocket, we'll actually generate a show called, it's called Nonprofits Radio, just for featuring nonprofits, and ideally kind of local, homegrown or community-based nonprofits. We call it NPR.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. NPR. Just don't tell the other NPR or whatever, right?
use a little, not capitalized.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's more than one PBC or one ABC or NBC or CIA out there. Yeah. So, but yeah, we'd love to talk to you about some of the nonprofits you're involved in. Maybe partner on that. So now, also you're announcing a new catering program.
That's correct. We've been wanting to do for a long time, and when we first opened the restaurant, we were open for lunch, and we were just not in a good spot for lunch. We're perceived as a little bit fancy, and it's not a viable lunch thing to do. So we after about a year, we just stopped doing it because we were just breaking even, and we're in business to make money.
Right, you got to get there way early.
Right. So we've been talking about this idea of catering for a long time, and now it's starting to come to fruition finally. We've got this guy on board, a really good friend of mine that's joined us at Giallo, a guy named Gary Menny.
Shout out to Gary. Yeah.
Shout out to Gary. Couldn't be here this morning to chat, but we're starting off kind of simple. We're going to focus on lunch drop-off stuff that's going to feature our food that we're going to be able to transport to, business meetings and stuff at lunch. We've
Yeah.
also, we've done a couple of events that were drop off, and we can also do stuff that's got service going on with it. So
Right.
it's just going to be Giallo to go. Giallo
to go.
at your home.
Seems to be a Giallo theme going on here.
That's
yeah.
right.
Giallo to go. That's pretty good. And so, are you going to partner with some of the delivery apps or whatever, or the delivery services?
Well,
are you going to do that in house mostly?
We do Uber Eats and what are the other ones? Postmates and Grubhub. Yeah, we do those already in the restaurant. And
but for the catering, this is going to be more in house.
Catering will take care of all that ourselves.
Okay, yeah.
We'll be doing the delivering and dropping off and manning if we need to, depending on what the people want.
And what's the entry point for a lunch catering up to what's the largest you could possibly think handle with the range ballpark?
I think at this point when in our beginning phases we're probably up to about 100.
Oh wow.
I think what we're going to see mostly for the target that we're going for is a lot. We're very close to all the Northside hospitals, Northside Hospital and
right.
Pill Hill. There's it's
Exactly,
a huge economy of the feeding businesses for the hospitals up there. And there's
Right.
doctors' offices, and there's constantly people that need to have presentations and stuff, and they need lunch for 20, 30 people, and
Right.
that's where we're targeting right now.
That sounds awesome. So that's what's on the horizon. What else is cooking over there? Any things for the new year, or any announcements or scoops you can give us? Or
No scoops that I'm allowed to divulge at this particular point, but stay tuned. And but the next year is just going to be just getting better and better what we do with Gary Manny on board and evolving and adapting to our keep the restaurant interesting. That's our biggest challenge. It's easy when you're first open. Everybody wants to come see you.
Right.
The challenge is to stay relevant over time, and so we have to constantly be doing things that are coming into make people want to come back into the restaurant for a new reason.
Right.
Now we've got, for example, we've been doing the Feast of the Seven Fishes, which is sort of.
That sounds like a religious event for some reason.
Well,
Yeah.
it's something that really took hold up in the Northeast. It had its origins in Italy,
Sure,
where
yeah.
you have a dinner for Christmas Eve,
Right.
and you have 7 fishes, and it's
Right.
got mystical connotations and everything. So we've done that for the past 3 years, and it's 2 years. This will be our third one, but it's that'll be on Christmas Eve.
But is that in the restaurant?
In the
like
restaurant,
an event, or in a certain the menu is already kind of mapped out and so forth?
Yeah,
or?
we'll have our regular menu, but we're going to have the Feast of the Seven Fishes menu, which is a 3-course menu.
Oh, okay.
That you'll get 7 different fish in the for appetizer, entree,
Wow.
and pasta. And Christmas Eve many years ago used to be the slowest night of the year.
Yeah.
It's our 3rd highest money day
Wow.
of the year now.
Wow. That's crazy. People just kind of, want to kind of get out and, they got a big meal planned the next day. They don't want to be cooking, I guess, that night or something. Yeah.
And
What
we also,
about Thanksgiving? You ever do anything for Thanksgiving? Or
No, we close on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
There's a lot of restaurants that are opening for Thanksgiving.
Right.
Because people just want to take a break and have
but
somebody else do it.
But you and your team need that day off, whatever. Right?
That's right,
Yeah.
and that's a personal reason we take it off because we got to give our people and ourselves time off.
Downtime. Yeah.
We also have New Year's Eve coming up, which
Okay.
we'll have a 4-course prefix menu.
Wow.
And there's all sorts of holiday parties going on in the restaurant. We have some private dining rooms,
Okay.
and we're getting pretty booked up, but there's still a little bit of space.
Yeah. What's the capacity for those dining rooms? What size are those private ones? Or
They are we can seat 55 people.
wow.
Or they can get divided at 30 and 20 on either side.
Obviously, being on the Pro Business Channel, a lot of our listeners are, business entrepreneurs and so forth, business owners. So is this something where they can hold a lunch meeting there, I guess? Obviously,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Lunch
Yeah.
or dinner.
Okay, yeah.
And
But lunch would be kind of by reservation or booking because you're not currently doing the lunches. It's evening events, right?
Right, but we are perfectly capable of
scheduling
doing a lunch events. We've done lots of them. So.
Yeah. All right, and what else is on the menu here? So that's the breaking news. So how would folks find you guys online and social? And
IlGialloATL.com.
Okay.
We're all over Facebook and Instagram, and our Instagram handle is
it's just
Giallo
ATL.
ATL.
Yeah. And that's the hottest thing, especially. I imagine you see people at your restaurant taking pictures all the time. That's
all the time.
Still a recent phenomenon, right? From your 20 years, that never happened back in the day, right?
No.
No one was sketching on a sketch pad a picture of their what's on their plate, right?
No, not at all. But I will tell a quick story. Years and years and years ago, when I was at Veni Vidi Vici, I think it was around 1997, Pano sent me and his two sons, Pano and Nico, and the guy that was the chef at Pricci on a 12-day eating trip in Italy.
Oh, wow.
And so, this was a long time ago. There were no phones that had cameras in them.
Right.
And so we went to 2 restaurants every day for 12 days.
Wow.
And so Pano, this would be Chef Pano. Don't tell anybody that I called him Pano Jr. He took a picture of every single dish that we ate, and we got some very weird looks from. They're like, "What are these guys doing?"
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm sure it goes on all the time now, but
yeah.
Pano was a pioneer in that particular venue.
A trendsetter or whatever. Yeah. Had he only known or whatever. Yeah.
That's right.
All right, well, Chef Jamie Adams, it was our pleasure to have you here on Food and Beverage Radio. Rich Casanova here, and appreciate your time. Next time, we're going to move this to an afternoon event. So you can
I'll bring you something to eat and taste. And
sounds good to me. Or we'll do a live broadcast on site or something. Yeah, make it happen. Yeah,
sounds great, Rich. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Thanks again. All right, take care.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you again for joining Rich Casanova and his guests on the Pro Business Channel. Use the social media links here to share today's show and stay tuned for the next episode of Food and Beverage Radio.